Hey everybody, it's Val. So if you missed the video of us refinishing our table, I'll put the link up here so you can go back and check it out after this video. When I posted the video, I had a suggestion from a follower whose husband is a woodworker who watched our video and said they thought we did a great job. They recommended or let us know that we could try putting a furniture paste wax on top of this and then buff it off. I looked into that, and so it basically adds another layer of protection. This is 3 layers of poly. This would add a sheen to it and help protect it a little bit more. They think we'll love it, so I'm gonna try that. So I'm gonna go to the store, I'm gonna buy this can of furniture paste wax. And from what I've seen, this is all new to me. I've looked up some videos online and it looks like you apply it all over, let it sit a little bit, and then buff it off real good. There is some discussion about using some very fine sandpaper before you put it on there to get off something like sandpaper nubs or something, or sanding nubs, but little fine grainy pieces that sometimes end up under the finish, which I did have some of those. I didn't know that's what they were called, but we'll sand those off. I did read on a thread somewhere, somebody talked about using a paper bag as sandpaper. It's just a very cheap, inexpensive substitute to get those nubs off, so I'm going to try that as well. Okay, I went to the store and I got this tree wax. It says on here clear paste wax. This was the only kind that the hardware store I went to had in terms of a paste wax. I have borrowed a polishing brush. This is a shoe polish brush. I read several times that a brown paper bag can be used kind of like 2000 grit sandpaper, so I'm going to use that. And then I have this little section of an old t-shirt that I cut out, and that's what I'm going to use to apply and maybe buff, and then I'll also buff with this. We'll see how it all goes. The reason I'm going to sand, for one thing that I read, was you need to sand a little bit for the wax to grab a hold. And the other thing is I have these little nubs. I'm going to show you what they look like. They're down here on the edge of the table. It almost looks like a little grain of sand or something. What I saw on some YouTube videos is that you can gently sand it off with this, so I'm going to try that out. Now I've put a light over here to help me shine a light on the situation. Right there you can see 3 of the nubs I'm talking about. Just like a raised area. And like, here are a couple more. They're just scattered. They're just scattered. There's one there. So that's what I'm going to do first. First, I'm going to go through and sand those off if I can, gently, and then I'll sand the whole top. Here goes. I kind of am a doubting Thomas about this. I kind of think that this isn't going to work for me, but maybe it will. It feels like I'm sanding with nothing. Just a piece of paper. I don't think this is going to work for that. It might feel like it's reducing the how prominent they are. So maybe it helps a little bit, but I don't really see it like taking care of it and making it go away. Let's see what I think after I do this one. Oh, well, now that one went away. Let's try another. I guess it depends on how prominent they are. That one I did, it did definitely work on. My assessment about this is, at least for trying this with a brown paper bag, it helps some, it might get rid of some, but it doesn't, it's not the complete answer to get all those places up. So it helps sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm gonna go ahead and just sand the whole top with the brown paper bag, and then we'll move on to adding the wax. I wanted to get a pretty good up close of what the finish looks like before, to see if we see much of a difference after. Okay, I'm gonna get started. See how it goes. I'm a little bit nervous. The instructions say, clean surface, apply thin, even coats with a soft cloth, allow to dry, then buff. Loading my cloth a little bit. I've read in some places to go with the grain, and I read in other places it doesn't matter. So I'll probably do mostly with the grain. Now in terms of what this looks like right this minute, it just looks like it's dulling the finish. I can tell enough when I move around and move the light to see where I've done it and where I haven't. Okay, this is what it looks like after I've applied it, but I haven't buffed it or anything. When you get at the right angle, you can see it's still, the wax is a little streaky, not buffed yet, not dry yet. That's the last section I did. Since this whole, the whole project is new to me, I've never used paste wax. I don't know what it looks like when it's dry. I don't know how long it's supposed to take to dry. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on it and I guess see how it feels in a little while, and then we'll work on buffing it off. For the record, I did go over and touch it to see what it feels like now so I can compare, and it feels wet. So when I touched it, it felt like it was wet on my fingers. So I guess when it's dry, it won't feel that way. It's been an hour since I finished applying the wax. It is mostly dry, but when I lean down like this, there are a few places that I can still see have a little bit of shine to it. So I'm gonna give it probably another 30 minutes and then I'll start buffing. It's been about 2 hours since I finished applying the wax. I believe it's as dry as it's gonna get, so I'm gonna start buffing it. You can see that the table is very shiny. I'm not finished. I've realized as I get to this point in the process that I don't know if I was supposed to wipe off excess wax after I applied it before it dried. The time lapse between when I watched the videos and when I actually did it has been enough that I've forgotten. This brush that I've been using is probably, if I had to guess, 30 or 40 years old. So it might not have been the best tool for this project because it is leaving hairs from the brush on the table. So I'm gonna go behind this with another piece of the t-shirt and try buffing it with the t-shirt to see if I can get a little more of the residue up off the table. All right, this was much more time consuming than I expected. And I'm probably still not done, but I've got to call it done because we need the kitchen to do some cooking for today. So I'm going to come back to it later and give it one final polish tomorrow probably. I definitely can tell a difference. I can also tell that it shows the flaws from our lack of experience a little more. But all in all, I'm happy with it. I feel like the table is definitely protected more. Let's let the others come in and see what they think about it. Ooh.
Wow.
It's so shiny.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
feel it.
Feel it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's so soft. I've got to buff it some more. Come on in, Nani.
Love it.
And see what you think.
It looks shinier.
It definitely looks shiny, doesn't it?
Yeah, that looks pretty.
I've got to finish buffing it another time because we're running out of time.
For that.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. It's 2 weeks later. Let me tell you what happened. This just hasn't worked out at all. I've had my table closed for 2 weeks and the middle part here still looks really nice. Let me turn my camera around. So here's the middle piece where I've had it folded away and we haven't been using it. It's still pretty shiny, smooth to the touch. But here's the parts we've been using. It's all smeared, streaky, sticky kind of. It's not smooth. It looks dirty even though I've washed it. One way you can tell is you can compare that middle piece that's nice and buffed and shiny with how the light doesn't reflect the same on the other two pieces. I guess you'll have to take my word for it because I cannot get it to show up. I think the best way to show it is this piece still looks nice because we haven't been using it. And you can see a little bit how that is a little more smeared looking. Doesn't have the same kind of light reflection. Anyway, I'm going to go through and try to remove some of the wax because I have buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and I cannot get it buffed out completely. I read up on how best to approach this project and it suggests mineral spirits. So I'm going to put some mineral spirit on a small section to try it out. And then I'm going to scrub it a little bit with a Scotch-Brite scrubber and then wipe it off a lot with paper towels. And we'll see. I'm just going to do a test area first. I feel like I really made a mess with this. I kind of regret not just leaving well enough alone. But at the same time, I'm also okay that I tried it. I'm sure there's plenty I did wrong. If you know how to do this and you can give me suggestions in the comments, please do. I really like the way it felt when I got done. It was so smooth and shiny, but then it just didn't hold up. So anyway, let me see what I can do to fix it. First thing I'm going to do very carefully is just go across the surface to get up any excess wax, which is probably my mistake. I probably got way too much wax on there to begin with. So that's what I got off with, just barely going over it. All right, next I'm going to try applying some of this odorless mineral spirit. And I'm going to give it a light scrub. Wipe it off with a bunch of paper towels is what it says. It definitely feels better to the touch. I don't know what it's going to look like when it's done. And I think when I'm done, I might need to sand the whole table eventually and do another coat of poly. I don't know yet. But today my goal is to kind of try to get this extra thick layer of wax off the table and get it smoothed back out, and then another project for another day, whatever comes next. Okay, I don't know if it looks any better, but it feels better. It doesn't have that candle waxy, kind of not rough, but not smooth finish like it did before. It now feels smooth to rub my hands across it. So I'm gonna keep going. All right, I am considering this done unless Nani and Granddad come back and give me some pointers to do something a little bit differently or better. I don't know if you can tell a difference. One thing I think you can see is that the reflections of the light are more consistent on all three panels. It feels much better. It's much smoother. It doesn't feel like rubbing my hand across a candle. See if anybody else can tell the difference.
I can already tell it looks so much better. Wow.
What looks different? Because it didn't really show up on the camera as well.
So after we did the wax layer initially, it looked okay, and then after using it, it was like it was all scratched up.
Smeared.
Yeah, smeared everywhere and very uneven. Like, it just looked terrible. And now it's smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. No comparison. No comparison. This feels like what I imagine it should feel like, just like a regular table. Whereas before there was a very like waxy layer on top that kind of, I don't know, just kind of gave you kind of that oily, sticky feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, no comparison. So much better. Looks great. Very shiny.
I'm anxious to see what Nani and Granddad think of it. They
Yeah.
looked at it this morning right
Yeah.
before I got started. So when they bring Jess home, we'll
Wow.
see what they think.
Great job.
Thank you. All right, Nani's here to see if she can tell a difference.
I can really tell the difference. It looks good again.
Yeah, it didn't look all smeary like it
Yeah,
did.
And it feels good too.
What'd you put on?
I scraped, just very carefully scraped some of that extra wax off. And then I used, what did I tell you I was going to use? Mineral spirits.
Yeah, there's some right there still.
What's right there still?
I said there's some right there still.
The wax.
Yeah, it got sticky right there.
Yeah, so there's a few spots that I can go back and get, but I think all in all, it looks so much better.
You backed it up too, didn't you?
I did, so we've left it open and moved it toward the window to see if we like it like that.
Well, I think it looks good. Do you like it so far?
Mm-hmm.
Well, good.